what the word says in Hebrews. Hebrews says, pay most careful attention to what you have heard. Now listen, I know when you say the word, when you tell somebody to be careful, especially teenagers. Listen, can I tell you, when you get a teenager driving, when all of a sudden you got to let that child drive out that driveway without you in the car, telling them to be careful takes on a whole nother meaning. Listen, there's not a single day that goes by that as we're leaving, Madison is going out the door, I say, Madison, be careful. Listen, I do it all the time. Madison, be careful. And I know what teenagers do, right? They got the eye rolls going on. And the first thing they think in their mind, I know, Daddy, I know how to be careful. I know, Mom, I know how to be careful. But listen, you pull up really close because, see, I could line this stage today with families that as I saw them drifting, I said, listen, you better be careful with that. I'm telling you, I could line the stage today with grown men that I said, listen, that's probably not going to be very good for your marriage, but let's say, hey, Pastor, I got this. Hey, Pastor, I know exactly what I'm doing. Listen, the writer of Hebrews says, listen, you better be careful. We must. Did you see that? We must. Those two words alone mean we got to do something. Listen, those two words alone mean you can't just sit still and assume that you will not drift. Matter of fact, I'll just tell you, if you do nothing, you will drift. Listen, spiritually, if you absolutely do nothing, if you go and you get in the ocean and decide to just hang out in the ocean and take your feet up off of that water or get deep enough that guess what? You will begin to drift whether you mean to or not. You'll begin to drift. So when you do nothing, you'll drift. Well, it works the same way spiritually. If you do nothing spiritually, you will drift. Y'all better heed this word today. When you do nothing spiritually, you will drift. Now watch what Hebrews says, because he gives us this really simple principle on how not to drift. It's just very simple. Watch what he says. Pay attention. That's it. Are you serious, Pastor? That is that deep ocean word that you're going to give us today, that if we'll just pay attention. Yeah. I believe God said if you'll just focus your attention. It's almost like the writer of Hebrews is writing, and almost like he's saying, God's in heaven saying, hey, you, hey, you, pay sir, hey, be careful. Pay attention to what I'm teaching. Have you ever noticed that when you're driving a vehicle down the road and maybe you're just cruising along down the highway and all of a sudden something catches your eye off to the left? How many of you know that if you begin to focus in on that thing to the left, guess what happens? Your car will all of a sudden, now, thank God they got them little things in the road, all the way down. But listen, when you begin to focus, maybe to the right or to the left, all of a sudden you'll begin to go that way. You know why? Because you will always, watch this, whatever you are focusing your attention on is what you will drift towards. Now listen to that. I'm going to say it again. Because what you focus your attention on, you will always drift towards. Listen, whatever becomes your focus, watch this, will determine your direction. And your direction will determine your desires. And your desires will always determine your motivation. Y'all going to hear that 2 or 3 times today. But listen, get that into your spirit today. Whatever you focus on is exactly what you will drift towards. Now, for those of you sitting here, oh, no, not me, Pastor. I got this thing, Pastor. Nah, I'm cool, and I got this, Pastor. You just don't understand. Listen, the Bible says, so you think you are standing firm. Be careful that you do not fall. Listen, the Bible says in 1 Corinthians 10 and 12, I'm reaching out the Message Bible. Listen, don't be so naive and self-confident. You're not exempt. You could fall flat on your face as easily as anyone else. Listen, if you've already made up your mind that you'll never drift, I got some sad news for you. You're probably already in the drift. Listen, I'm telling you, if you've already, I could never drift. You're probably already drifting. That's a funny thing about the writer of Hebrews here, because he really didn't go into no big elaboration. He really didn't go into big fancy words. He just simply said, listen, if you don't want to drift, then you must pay attention. Listen, if you don't want to drift, you must pay attention. Can I give some advice to my married folk? Now, listen, if you'll take a few moments and talk to somebody that's been divorced, and by the way, I'm not picking on you or giving you a hard time because you are divorcee, but listen, if you will talk to someone who has been divorced, I promise you they will probably tell you that their marriage suffered because somebody drifted. The divorced people ought to say amen. I'm just saying somebody, somewhere, one or another, at some point began to shift their focus to something else. One or the other began to pay attention to something else or someone else or something else. But either way, I'm telling you, you will never drift away from something without drifting towards something else.